Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent uh-oh experiences in business.
Learn what their uh-oh cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again.
All right, cohesive leaders. I am joined today with Danny Brassell. So excited to have you here on the Cohesive Leaders podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. More importantly, thanks for all that you do. We need a lot more of you. You're spreading joy in the world.
Awesome. All right, so we start off in a certain way. So first, I want to know something about you that wouldn't be on your resume, a bio, a book bio, LinkedIn profile. So let our listeners know a hobby, interest, thing that's odd or peculiar that you'd be willing to share.
I am an avid traveler and a very poor golfer.
Wow. Now, how often do you do both? I
don't golf as much as I probably should because I'm a cheapskate. I refuse to pay a ton for greens fees, but I travel all the time. I actually just got back from Ireland for a 2-week trip golfing with my son, where I think we golfed 6 courses for less than 1 course across America.
Wow. Now, if you did more though, would you think you'd be better, or you just enjoy playing and getting outside?
Oh, I love the walk. I love just being out with people. I love watching it on TV, and I have no complex that I'm a very lousy golfer.
Yeah. Well, in Charleston, South Carolina, of course, we have lots of golf courses. Folks come here, but when I'm asked, again, I'm not a golfer. I'm not a golfer. I've only played 3 rounds of 18 in my adult life. But I do recommend Patriots Point Golf Course, which is not a challenging one, simply because it's surrounded by water. And so from a view standpoint, it's a very iconic, beautiful one while you're out here. So, I mean, you can play a hard one. We've got the Ocean Course. We've got Charleston National. If you want to challenge yourself, go for it. But if you want just the view and experiencing Charleston, that's Patriots Point's link. So anyhow, and travel, how many countries have you been to?
Been to 67.
Oh, wow. You might actually have Dr. Troy beat. I think he said 63. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm at 35. So I love it too. But I also love being in one place and staying for a week or so and just experiencing as a local. But I haven't gotten to those numbers yet. So excited. Nice. All right. So next round is we want our listeners to get to know you as a person. So Danny, first, it's a 2-part question. First is who you are as character traits and behaviors. How would you describe yourself, or how would you want others to describe you when you're not in the room? What are behavior traits that they would respond to you? Because those are the things that people remember, right? So I don't want you to talk about roles or things that you do professionally. I want to know who you are.
I think people would always say that I'm very enthusiastic, I'm passionate, I'm determined, and I'm kind. And I think I would have lived a good life if people actually believed those things.
I say that one too. I say I'm kind. I'm trying to get it just out there a little more, you know. You know, I'm like, I'll speak that. Great. Okay. Well, then now share us some roles. What are the hats you wear? Let's go. You can go your whole career if you want. Current ones, past ones. What got you to here? What are the roles that you have?
Oh gosh, I have lots of hats. I mean, if I was going to write an autobiography, it would probably be called Pivots, because I feel like I've already lived 9 lives. 30 years ago, I was a journalist covering President Bush Sr. in the 1992 presidential election. I loved my job. I got to meet every editor of every major daily. And one editor offered me the city beat for $16,500 a year. Meanwhile, a friend told me they were hiring teachers in South Central Los Angeles for $25,000 a year. So Ben, I became a teacher for the noblest of reasons, for the high pay. And it turned out I fell in love with teaching. I've actually taught all age levels, from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California, the other USC. And in 2005, my wife and I attended a real estate seminar, which turned out to be a scam, and we lost everything. And I could give you the woe is me story, but I'm a positive person, and I learned a lot. First of all, I learned that my wife is my soulmate. I put her through the ringer, and she stood right by me. She's a pretty incredible person. Second of all, I learned that money's not everything, because you can lose money just like that. Third, I try not to judge other people, Ben, because if I was somebody who saw what I had done, I would have said, well, you deserve that. But now I realize if you really don't know everything about a person, you don't know anything about a person. Fourth, I became Christian, which I'm always kind of embarrassed that it took a catastrophe for me to become a Christian. But the more I read the Bible, I realize I'm not the first screw up to find Jesus.
That's pretty much all that were used.
Yeah, exactly. And then fifth, I didn't want to file for bankruptcy, and my accountant said, well, you have to make this much more money. And so I started speaking on the side, and I hit the number right on the number. Well, then the next year, Ben, he gave me a much higher number. And I hit that number right on the number. So in year three, I thought, well, maybe I should set a higher number. And basically, during one of the worst economic downturns in American history, I was able to build up a highly lucrative speaking business, which was rolling along. And it attracted the attention of some pretty big individuals and companies that wanted me to coach them. And I have to confess, Ben, I resisted coaching for a long time because it's kind of the same reason I left teaching. I have a very high standard for my students. I actually won't let you fail. I'll be on your back holding you accountable until you succeed. But now that I work with entrepreneurs and executives and business owners, I find that they're highly motivated. They do the work. It's probably the most gratifying thing I've ever done. So I guess I've worn an entrepreneur's hat, an educator's hat, a father and a husband's hat, a Christian's hat. Probably the big over-encompassing hat is the screw-up hat. That's what drew me to your podcast. I've had a lot of uh-oh moments, and I think there's probably a lot more to come.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get into that. So as a teacher, I've always heard that there are three main reasons teachers get into the industry. It's June, July, and August. But you added a fourth into that. But now the schools they're barely getting out in June and they're going back in August. But there's some reasons behind that, and I'm actually for it. But that's awesome. So, all right, I'm just gonna, on a relatable note, my uncle ended up being he taught art in downtown LA in the late 80s, 90s as well. So like he made a choice from Pennsylvania and made it over there. So must have been that lucrative salary they were giving, so awesome. So Danny, that's a lot of hats. I love that you brought them all out. You're willing to share those things. So our listeners know that we are complex beings. There is a lot that makes us up. And most likely though, hopefully people remember us because of those behavior traits. They may not remember the roles you had or the things you did, but how you made them feel. So it's really important to do that because we can fail in all of those areas at one point or another, but it doesn't change who we are. We can still be a kind person, even if we're angry one day or whatever. So what is the that is personal that you are willing to share with our audience? What is something you messed up?
Yeah, well, I've had lots of mess ups. I think of the ones I just listed. The biggest mess up there was buying a whole bunch of homes without properly doing all my research on the background of people. That was a big moment. But again, I'm not a person, I always tell students, the windshield's a lot bigger than the rear view mirror. I don't live life in regrets. I think we need those moments.
All right. So we're just going to go into the details though. So sometimes people have to realize I am in that scenario. I am somewhat, they would say, toxic positivity in the sense that I don't let people hear that. But some folks need to know because you had to train yourself. I had to train myself into the squashing of the ants, something we talk about in our book. It's, squashing the automatic negative thoughts. Okay. But let's go into that real estate scenario. Tell me the circumstances. Tell me things without maybe naming names. I mean, if you want to put it out there on blast, you can. But let's go into some details of the real estate scenario because and then I'm going to ask you what were the signs and all that because maybe we help somebody avoid something. So we're going to let's go into the details in this. If that was a big one that also helped you know that your wife was your soulmate, this is a big one to unpack. So we need to know how bad it got. Okay, so walk us through that uh-oh.
Yeah, so there was a person at work. When I was at the university, we have a lot of different people selling us different things. And one of them was a book publisher who I had worked with, who's a friend of mine. And he was trying to make extra money in real estate. And he told me about this person who had this real estate network. And so I went to a couple of meetings. And I was like, wow, this is really, how to get rich slowly by investing in real estate and holding it for a long time. And my wife was into it also, and she got very excited. And we went to this seminar for a weekend, and they gave us all kinds of discounts and incentives. And we purchased 10 properties in one weekend. They were all over the country. We had one in Phoenix, one in Salt Lake City, one in northern Mississippi, 2 in Indianapolis, and then 5 in North Cuba, which is my nickname for Florida because there's no law in Florida. I like Carl Hyacin, the author. He said if you were to tip America over on its side, all the crap winds up in Florida. A lot of dishonest people in Florida. I'm sure there's some great people in Florida. I had very negative experiences with Florida. And so we got all these properties, and then it turned out that they'd been misrepresented to us. And I have to take full responsibility. We should have done much more due diligence, but the people that were leading this real estate thing, they basically didn't fulfill their promises, and and a lot of it also had to do with timing because we bought them in 2005, and this is when basically my autobiography is the movie The Big Short. I'm like, I'm like that stripper who owned she bought 5 houses without knowing what she was getting into, and so I wasn't the only person. It was really bad timing. I actually still believe in real estate, and we actually wound up purchasing real estate later on. But while it was happening, I had to start speaking, which our children were very young at the time, which meant that I was on the road over 100. I still am on the road a lot, but I was on the road over 100 days a year, while my wife was at home with the kids. Also trying to deal with all of these real estate fiascos, different homeowners associations, creditors, and she dealt with it. And, I raised the money to keep us financially afloat. But it was really tough there. And, I didn't want to file bankruptcy. Eventually we had to because of North Florida, because every other state had laws in place to help you out, but Florida, there's a lot of shysters. This is why I'm not interested in politics, because the politicians there are definitely in it for themselves.
Isn't Glenn Ross is based in Florida, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a lot of swampland kind of stuff. Because like in Florida, we had people raiding into the units, stealing appliances, and it was just horrible. There's just no recourse in Florida. I shouldn't just go off on Florida.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, we'll divert. So you ended up actually having the properties. You had you paid for them and all that, and then other things went awry. Okay, so let's get even more specifics. This is in multiple areas. What did this mistake cost you? Now, there's the financial component, and then the other things. Let's talk about both. I want to know physically, mentally, and physically being the actual money, and then the other elements of cost that we associate with mistakes. What did this experience cost you?
Yeah, so it cost a couple of $1 million. All of our savings, money. I really do want to stress this to the audience. Money is replaceable. That time, those years are not replaceable. Our children were very young, and my wife was very stressed all of the time. And so we weren't able to really give the kids the attention that they deserve when they were young. I was on the road a lot. It took a toll mentally, emotionally. Spiritually, it was probably a good thing spiritually. Unfortunately, I've learned that I'm closest to God when I'm at my lowest point. And so I had made this point to my men's Bible study. I'm like, sometimes I have to relish when things are going bad, because it's when I'm really spending a ton of time with God. So that was probably a positive. But yeah, it was very, very trying on all those different areas. But again, I'm not a person that focuses on the negative. A lot of good things came out of it. But at the time, I was at an event speaking a couple of weeks ago, and the first two speakers said, you need to enjoy the journey. And I guess I was feeling facetious then, because I got on stage. I'm like, you ever notice the people who say enjoy the journey have already succeeded? I mean, when they were like broke and like struggling to make payments on their car, where they're like, man, I'm really enjoying this. It's stupid advice. The journey stinks.
Well, I will counter that, because I am of the mindset of, and I even sign my books, the journey to becoming is life's greatest adventure, because we never arrive. And I by no means have arrived, but I say that because I actually have perspective when something is going wrong. I'm like, this is going to be a great story. I'm being trained to learn from something. So somehow I've wired my brain that in the midst of that crap, that I'm forward thinking in it. And I believe there are a lot of folks that are like that look like that. So I'm totally about of the journey aspect of things, because only Google Maps tells you you've arrived, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm a big one of, you have to take the time to smell the roses, because I believe in the Roman 8:28, there's a plan. This is going to work out. So I look at that perspective, even in the midst of it. And I can tell you that's one thing that most people would probably say about me, is that I'm always, no matter what's going on, I'm even kill, and I'm looking forward to. Literally, I say that, man, it's going to be a great story. Like in the midst of it being crappy.
Yeah.
So perspective wise, I that's how I operate. So I believe there's others out there like that. Okay, so what did you do to stop it? So you said there was bankruptcy. There's some legal stuff. So how did you rectify the and then also with the time with the kids, like how did that pan out?
Well, I mean, it's not like we ignored our kids or anything, but well, to be honest, what bailed us out was President Obama had a program that helped bailed a whole bunch of people out in the real estate, really saved us. That was a real blessing. And yeah, that just kind of, I was like, wow, a politician actually did something that actually helped us out. So we were bailed out by the government, basically. So people that like to gripe about the government about things, I'm like, well, the government also does some good things. We have a president that filed for bankruptcy 4 different times, and he likes to rail against the government, but actually saved his butt 4 times. So there's pros and cons to different things. We were very fortunate though, and we wound up. I'm like you. I'm a positive, optimistic. Almost to the point of I don't know if you ever saw the movie Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, but he's like this eternal optimist. Where my favorite scene in the movie, he sent his movie to the head of a studio, and he's like, "What'd you think of my movie? Worst thing you've ever seen? Well, my next one will be better." I mean, he's just an eternal optimist. Or in Candide, Voltaire wrote Candide in the 1750s, I think, and Candide's an eternal optimist. It's one bad thing after another, and he's always just looking for the positives in it. Yeah, but I got to tell you, when we were going through it, it was a negative experience. But when we came out the other side, lots of lessons learned. I'm a stronger person. I'm a humbler person, and I'm definitely a better person.
So, conversations with the wife, how did those pan out? During and then post to make you have a stronger relationship as well. How did that go?
Well, I mean, they say money is probably the thing that tears more relationships apart than anything. There were some difficult moments there. I always definitely feel guilty because this wouldn't have happened if my friend hadn't gotten me interested in the real estate, and then I brought her into it. So there definitely was guilt there. Fortunately, we were able to come out stronger. I mean, I'm a hard worker too. I don't just let things happen. I do what I can to make things right. And like one of the best things, we had to sell all the properties, and I remember a realtor we were working with in Indiana. She was so kind because she said, just so you know, Danny, the woman that's buying this place from you is a single welfare mom. She would have never been able to buy this place. And I was like, well, good. God used my horrific circumstances to help somebody else, which was fine by me. At least that was one good thing that came out of it. There was a lot of good things that came out of it, but I wouldn't wish this on anybody. It was a trying. It was a long period too. It was probably about 5 years of this catastrophe taking place.
So let's position this or package this into a listener who is an employee. What are the lessons that could be applied to someone that's young in their career? Now, we could talk about it as opportunities of side hustles, things like that. So how would you look at this as somebody that's in the 22 to 35 range, 40 range, up and coming in their career? And in that light, how would you take what you did as far as things to look out for, or how to rectify it, or just take the lessons from it to apply? How would you reposition that?
Well, I would definitely still encourage people to take risk. I don't think you ever grow without taking risks. The people that say, well, I would never do that. I'm like, well, yeah, you would never do anything. I mean, I've been to 67 countries. People are like, oh, you can't go there. I'm like, people talk about it. This is a great story. I was in Bolivia years ago with 2 British guys. And at that point, I traveled to a lot of places. And these British guys, though, they had me destroyed. They'd been to Bosnia. They'd been to Rwanda. They'd been to Iran. We were in Bolivia at the time, which was one of the poorer countries in South America. And I asked them, I'm like, of all of your experiences, what was the most dangerous situation you ever felt you were in? And they didn't even hesitate, Ben. They're like, well, one time we took a public bus in Los Angeles. And I'm like, holy cow. And I thought about it, and I'm like, that makes sense, because to the rest of the world, every American is armed and dangerous, and that's how they perceive us. And it's the same way Americans fear the rest of the world. Oh, you can't go there. It's dangerous. How do you know? You don't know anything about that. People talk about things. And so as a practical advice to people out there in their 20s, 30s, you got to go out there. You got to go out. You are going to have to. What's the biblical expression is fall down 7 times, get up 8. That's why we love Rocky. I mean, Rocky, people forget, in Rocky, he loses to Apollo Creed, but it's the best movie ever, because the night before he fights Apollo, he's in bed with Adrian. He's like, Adrian, I'm going to lose tomorrow. But that doesn't matter to me. I want to go the distance with the champ. And if you watch the movie, he goes the distance. He loses, but he's fulfilled his goal. He went the distance. And so the practical lesson for everybody out there is, yeah, you got to take risks. You got to go out there and do something. You can live a sheltered life, but that's no life. That's not living. And because of this horrible thing that happened, a whole bunch of great things happened because of it. And I like where you were kind of going with that, Ben, is, Romans 8:28, God's just laughing at us because he knows the ending. We don't know the ending, but he's laughing because he's like, yeah, I had to make all of these bad. I mean, I think about meeting my wife, all the things that God had to do to get my wife and me together. I'm like, wow, that's really incredible that happened. And, but you got to get out there. So I wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, like I say that, it's stunk, but a lot of good things came out. I mean, that's my favorite verse in the Bible is Genesis 50:20, where basically Jacob has passed away and Joseph's brothers are freaking out. They're like, oh no, Joseph's going to take his vengeance out on all that bad stuff we did because Dad's dead. And so they come up to Joseph and they're like, hey, Joe, before Dad died, he said, like, you're not supposed to take vengeance on all that bad stuff we did to you. And Joseph looks at his brothers. He's like, oh, no, man. Everything you meant for evil, God meant for good. And that's kind of how I look at my life. So these uh-oh moments become aha moments.
I love it. Perspective. And that's where a lot of folks look backwards and see that. So I implore as many people as possible to try to be in the midst of it, to realize I'm training for something. Anything that's going on is the gym. I'm in the gym of life. So when things are going crappy, you get to choose your attitude, right? And you get to choose your reactions and your actions towards that. And that includes reactions. So those are the only two things we have control over. So in the midst of all that crap, you can still be kind to people. You don't have to be mean. You know that there's some stuff happening, and bad stuff is happening. Their financial can be destitute, but most people that go through these things, when they look back, they're like, oh, because of this, I did X, Y, and Z, or I had this experience go faster because I had this bad one. So yeah, listeners, and I love the fact, Danny, that you said, go out and try. And that's what I'm seeing. And I employ high schoolers all the way up into much older folks at what we do. And at one point when I was doing team building for middle schoolers, we have an activity where you have to guess the first step. There's one of 6 steps that are correct. And they spent minutes before someone was willing to take the first step. Nobody wanted to be wrong in front of their peers. And yet to some of us are like, what's the consequence? Just go. But to others, and now we've got this social media world where appearances and how people look and what they're going to say about us matters so much. They're not thinking about you, later. I mean, yeah, video, you got to be careful. There's some things on, doing stuff on the video because that will live and it can bite you. There are some challenges there, but individually, they're not thinking about you. So just go out and do and live your life. So that's awesome. So
yeah,
Danny,
there's so much wisdom you just gave there. But I mean, that's the old proverb I always tell people. I'm like, 5 frogs are on a log, one decides to hop off. How many frogs are left? And most people will say 4. I'm like, no, the answer is 5. Deciding to do something and actually doing something are 2 different things. Go out and do something. So that's really good. I mean, and what you were saying about social media, people always portray themselves positively on social media. That's why I don't
the highlight reel. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually recently learned that there's a difference between being transparent and vulnerable. I am historically, apparently, a very transparent person. I will tell you the situations and all the crap. But where I have found that I'm shortcutting or shortchanging my friendships with people is that I'm not very vulnerable. I don't go into the emotion of those situations of how they've truly affected me. And people, I'm honest or transparent. Yeah, but you're not vulnerable. And there's the difference is the vulnerability requires the emotional piece, and not just here's the details of the crappy thing that happened to me and I've packed it away in a little box. But I think when we share those emotions, those are the connecting pieces of what happened, right? Knowing that you had a traumatic, a tough time with the real estate thing, but emotionally you got to be a better spot with your spouse and then got back to the kids. And that's something like on the other side of it, that was the positive, right? There was a pot of gold, if you will. So
yeah, that's every great story ever. I mean, that's Star Wars. Luke starts off. That's Tommy Boy. That's the Karate Kid. That's any good story. You have to go through those trials and tribulations. I mean, and it stinks. I wish you didn't have to. But I mean, that was one of the first things I ever learned as a kid. Is anything worth having, you have to work for.
I think we used to say we're in a microwave society and everything's going fast. And there was a time period where folks had never experienced dial-up internet or ads on anything. And I'm actually, and this is a very unpopular opinion, I am happy that ads are back on streaming services. From a perspective standpoint, it teaches patience for folks that can't go there, or they're going to just cost money, and you can choose to spend more money to get rid of them. But like in the idea of I'm going to wait, I have to wait for this, and yeah, you're getting sold something or trying to, but like in my line of work, the mindset of people wanting to be fast paced all the time. Just want to get the thing done. And again, I'm the journey guy, right? And so what did you learn through the process, or did you just accomplish the task? Like, are you willing to at least to take the time to reflect afterwards, or you just knock it out, right? So those are the things that I discuss. I'm like, you got the thing done, but if you didn't learn anything, that's studying for the test and not actually educating yourself, right?
So and they give you a chance to make a decision. I mean, when Disney started charging for ads, I'm like, so wait a second, I'm paying you $20 a month for your service, and now you're still charging me for ads? I'm like, just made my decision really easy. I canceled Disney. I'm like,
Perfect. Yeah.
And it's the same thing as I won't pay to shop at a shopping mall. I'm like, you want me to pay to park, so I have the privilege to pay you? I'm like, no.
Yep.
I'm like, you just did me a favor. I'm going to take a walk now.
Yep.
Like, now I'm going to read a book. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that element, that perspective, because that makes a big difference. People will say, oh, wow, you got me this far, but nope, there's the line. So,
Nope.
Danny, how would folks get a hold of you if they wanted to follow up? And I believe you're an author, right? So how would folks get a hold of you, or find what's the best way for them to reach out or see your content?
I show people how to take their own vulnerabilities and create more powerful presentations. And so, as a thank you to you and your audience for listening to me, Ben, I want to give everybody a freebie. So if you go to freestoryguide.com, guide like a tour guide, freestoryguide.com, I'm going to give everybody their own well-crafted story blueprint. What this is the actual process that my business partner, Coach Jimmy, and I take our clients through on how to create your own well-crafted story. What this does for you is it takes the guesswork out of where should I put this and why do I put it here? And what this means for you is peace of mind that you will actually have presentations that convert audiences into actual customers. You can get that at freestoryguide.com. And Ben, this has been a delight. You've asked questions that nobody's ever asked me before, and you got me thinking and reflecting very well.
Awesome. So what's a question on that aspect? What's a question you thought I would ask that wasn't asked?
Well, I don't know about, you ask completely different questions than most people, because most people take me through, how to put together their presentations. You actually, it was much more personal podcast where you were talking about, those, now I'm thinking about all those other moments I could have talked about. But what I like where we're coming through at the end, and this is your theme, is that, hey, smile, like you're going to come out stronger for these things, which is an important thing for people to understand. It's one of the things I teach people in presentations. We don't need to hear sad stories. We need to hear stories of hope, because, everybody's had a lot of bad things happen to them. But again, that's why I always use Rocky as an example. But the powerful people, the successful people, are the people that get up and get back into the ring. So thanks.
And I'm sure you probably put this out there. You don't have a message unless you've gone through a mess, and you don't have a testimony without being tested. So
yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end this like we do all Cohesion culture programs, is that you don't need to Troy, we normally split this up. So, right? You don't have to know everything. You just need to be teachable.